Good evening and welcome. We're going to our webinar today. We're going to be hearing about CAFOD's work in El Salvador and hearing from Winston Berrios, who's our program manager in El Salvador. So I'm very excited about this, and it's great to be able to hear directly from him. And if you're listening on a sort of catch-up, listen again, greetings to you too, and thank you for joining us. Great. Let's click on here. Firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you for all your efforts during Lent Fast Day. We raised a total of 2.6 million, so that's fantastic, thank you. And of this, 1.4 million was donated by parishes throughout England and Wales. So colossal effort, thank you. And hundreds of parishioners also committed to giving a regular gift, so thank you for those who mentioned that too. It really does help a great deal, and it helps to transform the lives of the poorest people around the world. So we're going to move on. So looking ahead now, around the corner, we've got Harvest Fast Day coming up. I know you're all preparing for this already, but I'm going to mention it here again. Friday the 6th of October is the big day, and we're going to have a quick look at this link here to have, if you'd like to look, this is on the CAFOD website. You can see at the top cafod.org.uk/fundraising, but if you go on the website, you'll find it too. So it's just loading. It's being a bit slow here, but I'm hoping I'm able to share this with you. It doesn't seem to like it. Let's just reload that for a minute. It's being a bit funny. There we go. Here's the Harvest Fast Day link. So you can download the short talk there, and there are other resources. Hear more about our work in El Salvador, and here we are. Parish, if you would like the short talk translated into Polish, or to look at the children's liturgy, or to think about organising a soup lunch, which is great fun, you can explore all our resources there. So I recommend that to you. Great. And also have a quick look beforehand if you have time at the Fast Day story. I'm a Fast Day speaker in my parish. I always helps me to read it through to my family beforehand, or the mirror, whatever helps you. Let's have a quick look at that now. This is the Harvest Fast Day talk. So do print it off and have a read through, because it's that's a fantastic thing to be looking at too. From current slide, let me just rejoin where we were. Lovely. And also to mention, please could you share your stories, because we hear about great things happening in the parishes, and I know it's a really moving experience to volunteer and to in Fast Day. So please let us know. We actually were able to share 70 stories of what's happening in parishes on our regional news, and they're very inspiring for others to see, the church in action, engaging in charity, putting their faith into action, and what a difference that can make. So please send us your photos, send them to your volunteer centre, and we can help to share all the good work you've been doing. So now on to the exciting stuff. Although Harvest Fast Day is also very exciting, but this is what your all the donations and all your efforts work towards. So we're going to hear about the action that CAFOD's partners are taking to help sustainable livelihoods. And I'm going to pass on to Winston, who's leading our work there. And thank you very much for joining us this evening, Winston. We're really grateful for you for coming on air and giving us your time away from what is, I'm sure, a very busy and important task. So over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. Hello, everyone. My name is Winston Berrios, and I have been working at CAFOD for 7 years as officer in Central America. And we have in Central America 3 programs. One is cisgender and HIV. The other one is human rights and livelihood program that I in charge, and I'm going to talk right now about this. So in this office, we work in 5 people. We are based in Managua, and we cover 4 countries. The 3 programs we cover in 4 countries is Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, and Nicaragua, where we are based. So I have next, please. One of the main challenges here in Central America is most about the vulnerability that the region has in terms of climate change and disaster reproduction and social events like migration, violence, and insecurity. The next slide, please. Next. You can see here different data, but also you can see where the program is located is that we call the dry corridors. The dry corridor is very difficult area where more poor people are concentrated, more disadvantaged people are located. So most of the program is focused in this region. You can see all this brown color where the area is covering most of the region, and you can see the data about is area where the water resources are most scarce, very poor rainfall, so it's very hard to produce in this area. A low yield of the crop is only few crop you can growing in this area, and most of the people in this area are in poverty and extreme poverty level. So the program is trying to help these people, to support these people, and focus in this area, because the other area, the green area that you can see in the map, is more coffee value crop that we can say in other words. So people have more advantage to dealing with the economic situation, and so we are focused most in this level. We're covering 10 partners, most of them are Catholic, member of the church, and we reaching around 10,000 families in the 4 countries. Next, please. The program have one specific mission that we want to improve the quality of life of men and women from the poor and most excluded community through different processes, capacity building, and supporting economic initiative. And basically, we are focused right now in women and young people, priority disadvantaged group. Next, please. The program, next please. The program have 4 outcomes. Very briefly, I'm gonna talk about that. The 4 outcome is more about strengthening capacity, strengthening public policy, access to production mean, and farming practice, improving life to face the climate change. And how CAFOD work in El Salvador. Now I'm going to talk specific about Salvador, not talking about the general program that is covering the 4 countries. Now I'm going to focus a little more about El Salvador. In El Salvador, we're working in 3 big themes. One is agriculture, helping families to improve their crop using environment sustainable technique, and cut and learn more from each other. Women empowerment, empowering women, helping women to know their rights, development their self-esteem, sharing abuse, and be leader in community and income generation, one of the main issue. And one other good aspect is Connect to in El Salvador. I think many of you know what is Connect to. And so I'm going to talk about these 3 main topics that we're working in El Salvador. In El Salvador, next please, we're working in 2 communities, 2 municipalities. One is Huaymango, and another is Jujutla, you can see El Salvador is the smallest country in terms of area in Central America. It's very small. And we are into municipality, and this is also, these municipalities are located in the dry corridor. And in Huaymango, that is where we have focused. We have the initiative that we call Connect to in a specific community that we call Puentecito. We want to talk a little more about that later on. So next, please. One of the work that we have done for many years has been the SIGMAN and using of native SIP. This initiative, we are starting for many years looking how work with seed, because seed for farmers in this community is very expensive to get, and to produce is a lot of difficult in terms of the hybrid or commercial seed. So we were looking how help people to have their own seed and have more productive seed and more resistant seed to different climate change like dry or flooding. So that is the reason why we are working in SIGBAN to store seed for saving seed for different season, but also using the native seed. Next, here you can see one of these pictures, for example, a lot of different kind of corn. This is important because the native seed keep biodiversity, or in other words, the people call genipools. This is important to keep the biodiversity. Also, like I mentioned, the native seed tolerate better different climate change, or other people call weather variability. These seeds are more adapted to locally and ecological conditions, and it's cheaper to cultivate compared with the hybrid seed, and it's more accepted by the social and economical condition, because many of these seeds people can use it to prepare typical drink or food according with the color, according with the taste, according with the form. So that is very important for the community to have a native seed. Until now, we have 49 SIGBAN in 49 community. The idea is people give their hybrid seed, exchange the hybrid seed, and they receive native seed to cultivate and produce and keep the seed for the next generation and generation. So that is the idea how we working with community in SIGBAN. Next, please. Another big area that we're working with this community is diversification, crop diversification, and using different techniques like soil conservation, water harvesting, fish on farm, using a solar panel to pump to drip irrigation, using incubator to produce egg. For example, in this picture, you can see how people using incubator with solar panel to incubate chickens, eggs, and have more productive and sustainable income, and also produce better nutrition for the family. So, and also all these techniques are applied in small farmers that the farmer have or living in subsistence. So the idea is how the diversification can improve nutrition, income, but also create better condition in terms of climate change. Next, please. Next. Here is another component that we're working is women empowerment. You can see we have carried on different initiatives like economic initiative. The idea is giving some amount of money to the women, and the women is starting doing something that can get more income, but also giving training, not just about the economic initiative, but also about gender, inequality, self-esteem, different topics that the women can and the men can participate to have better relations in terms of equality. And also we have created a loan and saving community group. That is very good experience that the women put money during 1 year, and they have different activity, and then after the year they can divide the total amount that they have collected during the year, and they can buy or celebrate different things with the sharing that they have during the year that they have been saving. This initiative now, the women in Huaymango, for example, they are creating the first women cooperative that is going to be participating around more than 70 women, that they can have their own organization, but also they can be more sustainable once the project left this community. Next. For example, here I'm going to talk about Rosa experience. This is a case study about Rosa, who was held by Solidarity CBS, that is the partner that we work in El Salvador, and she rears chicken to eat or sell for the eggs. No? And she is starting with 50 chicken, and right now she has around 400 chicken, and she's selling chicken in her small shop, and also he has more just to produce in better condition. You see here, she at the beginning have a small condition, very poor condition, and now we are building better chicken to produce in better condition, and she is happy to sell to the community, and the community can have access to chicken cheaper than the going to other community or to the city to buy chicken or eggs, for example. So that is one of the good experience that we have from this initiative. And she's very self-esteem, has been very enthusiastic to help out another women to carry on the same experience that she have until right now. Next, please. Another thing that we, two years ago, we started working in El Salvador was a weather station, the farming. Here, the idea is climate change is getting worse everywhere. No? The rainfall is very poor or getting flooding. So the idea to get the weather station is how farmers can measure the rainfall each day and recording them, but also recording the temperature. And once they have recording all these data, they can share to the community to say when is the most better condition to planting, or where is the worst time to planting. For example, is the soil don't have enough moisture, or temperature is too high, so they has to stop to planting. And that is how the weather station help to the community to face to the climate change and reduce the risk of loss, because every every day the temperature or the rain can change, and the farmers can make decision about how the cross management can be better done for get better production. So the idea is now all these weather station has to organize a small group in each community, and they are talking about the data about rain, about temperature, and making decisions together with the technician to help them improve the techniques and the management of the crop. So this is very connected with radio that Solidarity CBX have to forecast in the community about climate change, about the weather, about disaster, about different natural phenomena that they can predict. Next. So, for example, this is Annie, that he said, I encourage all poor farmers to respond what their conscience is telling them and love the earth and the Mother Earth, because she's giving us sustenance of our daily food. Don't cause destruction. If you are someone who doesn't farm, but you are agree with it, you have to pay for the food, then you can choose with your money to bring about a change, a new way of using the land, a new way of living. So we made these interviews to make campaign about how help this kind of activity in El Salvador. And what amazing example about how he feel about using the weather station and also using this data for the poor farmer to respond to better crop management. So this is one a good example about how they feel with the weather station. Next. Another topic that I want to talk about, connect to. What is connect to? For many of you, connect to has been carried on for many years. In El Salvador was a community, Puentecito, who have more interaction with this action, and they feeling very connected in terms of solidarity, because for many years the connect to has been very connect with the people, and we have a lot of exchange happen between English community and community from El Salvador. I remember 2 years ago, people from Puentecito went to England to talk and to meet with many of you to get and find this solidarity and better connection. So this is kind of action that people feeling very connected between what we are doing in El Salvador and what you are doing in British. So we have a community organized, and they are carrying on different campaigns, different service activity to connect in better solidarity with people out of the country. and also trying to get the face in action. That is the most important thing that we're doing with Connect to, I think, and connected uh, to two different geographic area, but becoming together. For example, here, this is executive director from Solidarity CBX, who is presenting to the community DVDs that when sent from the Paris in Bristol, and presenting to the community what the people is doing, has been doing from different jobs that they carry on in British. And the next, please. Here, for example, Rosa Idilia is reading about Alain and Easter in the Paris of Our Lady Immaculée Saint Felix, and they is sharing with the community the different letter and photo that has been sent to them, and she said, what I have learned is how the group over there are working to contribute something to El Salvador. When I started with the Jesuit Development Service, I didn't know this. I realize now that they are people like us who working like us. So this is the most empire connect to people getting in contact through letter, to DVD, to exchange business that they carry on to inspire people and become more solidarity. Next. So for the going challenge that we are working in El Salvador is socioeconomic context is very weak right now in El Salvador, because the situation is not growing in terms of economic as well. The insecurity and the violence is getting worse, but it does push the migration, especially in young and women. El Salvador is one of the countries who have more people out of the country, and this is not stopping. We need more security, we need more employment, we need more social policies that help people to be in the country. And the other challenge that is coming is the climate change, especially in rural area. So all these three issues is getting worse for people, because when they come all mixed together, the migration, the poor, and the insecurities is increasing. So now we have to deal in different aspects to reduce this issue and improve the policies and the security in the community to through better job and better income and more solidarity to different community to reduce the insecurity and the violence. So thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Winston. It was fascinating to hear about all the different projects that are happening. We're going to move on to a section of questions now. If you do have questions, if you could please type them into the question box, and then I can read any out to Winston. If we don't have time to get back to all the questions, then I'll follow up and answer individually and via email afterwards. Shall I start us off? There are some questions about climate change, because the impact is clearly huge, and you're having to adapt to this, and the weather stations were brilliant. So I want to know, has this been a fast change? Have you noticed a change sort of in the last 10 years where it's got worse? What are your feelings on that, Winston? Is it something that's been very noticeable, noticeably getting worse, or is it so gradual that it's difficult to quantify?
Well, we have data. Every year has been worse and worse and worse. For example, right now more is the major event is happening more frequently and more devastating in different ways. So we try when we recording data and to see how this changing is happening. Um, People are it's easier to see how the crop I'm producing less and in especially for the hybrid because all these changings of the climate affect very uh, clear more the hybrid than the native seed. For example, native seed can tolerate or can resist better all these changings. No? So the and but it's very controversial because the commercial companies who selling hybrid seed, for example, is trying to sell more and more hybrid seed packet together with fertilizer, pesticides. So they advocated to introduce more packets, not just the seed. That, that's including all these packets and the people. Sometimes they get in this idea, no? But also when they find out that every year they need to buy this seed and this package, but it's getting every year more expensive, and the cost of their production is not increasing in the same way. So it's very difficult for the farmer to live from this cycle once they get there. But it's very clear how this changing every year.
Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, that's something which I was a bit confused by at the beginning because I was thinking, gosh, you have the seed that's actually local to the area is the best one because it's adapted for that climate, and yet it's difficult because so it's the force of the commercial sellers selling seeds that has made this dependence begin, and that's why we're having to intervene to try to get people back onto and teach them how to harvest the local seed, and so that that's more sustainable for them. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, great. That's great. The other question we've had about women empowerment, and it's so wonderful to hear about the women's cooperative that has started. What a great movement. But I suppose the question is about how well has that been received by the community? How did they encounter opposition to the teaching about gender equality and getting involved?
Yeah, that's a good question. Remember, in Central America, I think in the rest of the country, we have a machist culture that we call, no? And I remember 3 years ago, we created the first co-op where most men were in the executive board and women were relegated to this organization. And we started looking how dealing most in equal condition, no? And we're pushing a little bit how women can get in better position in the different board that we have in that co-op. But at the end, this co-op fails, no? And we are starting looking that some women who were in that co-op, they said we failed because they didn't listen us, and we were trying to do good thing, but the men didn't listen us. So we said, okay, we can create new co-op, and you can be a part of them, and we are starting working, and now it's working well. We will see if they want to participate some men, no? Because we want more integrated, more equally. But at the moment, they feeling very comfortable, and the community feeling that they're doing a good job, and because they producing and then selling in the community, so the community is receiving also some benefits from what they're doing in the co-op. And even when the couples of them are participating in the co-op, but who are registered are the women. So I think nowadays is more open the community to see how this movement is changing in different way, and giving opportunity to other women how participate and be organized and getting more independent also is doing well in that way.
Brilliant, brilliant. So we're learning by success. Success is always persuasive, isn't it? And a question about your campaigning side to the work, because you were talking about the Australia need stronger social policies, the violence, immigration. How would you go about sort of galvanising support to campaign in that way? Is there any example of how you've tried in the past, or just sort of to give us a little bit of background on that? That'd be okay.
Yeah, well, every year it's an organization about policy, integration policy. Last year, I remember, was about how women can have access to land. The idea is if the family have their own land, they can produce, they can have more independent, they can have more sustainable. Right now, for example, in Waimango, 60% of the farmers don't have their own land. They have to rent land to produce. So one of the big campaigns at a national level was to be in alliance or in networks working with other organizations and try to create a policy that give access to farmers with good condition, cheaper, and maybe credit, long-term loans to have access to land. And that is going to reduce the immigration, because people are going to have more sustainable, more independent, they can produce. And that was a nice campaign, and right now I think one of the good things is that the government is taking the law, the bill proposal, and we want to see if they're going to approve this, and maybe they're going to have the approving a law about how women can access in good condition for land. That is a good example about campaign. I need to see what is the next campaign for this year, because every year they with the network that they working in the CBX, they decide what campaign they're gonna carry on at the national level. But that was the last year, and what's good, yeah.
Oh, that's a great example. Yeah, great to hear. That's a really important thing. If you don't have access to good land, then it's really a real struggle to get your farming business going. So thank you. And if you have any, I don't think we have any other questions this evening. If you'd like to drop at the volunteering team an email, we can in a future time you can let us know. So we're going to finish our recording now. Thank you very much to Winston.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening in, for joining us this evening, and thank you Fulvio for helping with this recording. So good evening everyone. Goodbye. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.